How's it going out there? It's February 10th. And I'm Frank Curzio, host of the Wall Street Unplugged podcast, where I break down headlines and tell you what's really moving these markets. So I have an awesome show for you today. I don't know why I say awesome show for. It's kind of funny you think about it. Whenever I watch a pro, we got an awesome show for you today, no matter what you watch, right? They're not going to tell you have a shitty show today. Don't watch. I don't have any stock picks to give you. Nothing, right? No, it's not going to be that. But truly, this is a really, really good show. Going to focus on entrepreneurship, innovation, how to be a difference maker, since we're getting a lot of young people listen to this podcast, new listeners, new subscribers. My interview today is incredible. I mean, one of my favorites. I've been doing this for a long time. This is a first-time guest who co-founded one of the largest tech companies in the world. So I'm honored to have him on. Definitely must listen to. We'll get to a little bit. And a lot going on with the market, right? So Dan Creech and I are going to be breaking it down. The surge in Bitcoin, although it's pulling back today. Pulling back like 5%, but still up tremendously. I'm going to tell you some of the stocks that benefit from Bitcoin, because a lot of people don't know. I mean, you hear MicroStrategy and Tesla's a lot more stocks out there that and a couple pure plays, that we have in our portfolio that have done unbelievable in our crypto portfolio, and names that they really don't mention a lot on TV. Break those down. Talk about marijuana stocks. I mean, Tilray, is it going to be 100 tomorrow? It was 7, I think, 3 weeks ago. It's over 50 now. Crazy. Did have some really good news with Tilray. It's applying the UK with marijuana, which is great. And then, of course, I'm going to talk about my Super Bowl pick. Let's just say that I'm back, right? I mean, throughout the Eagles, I was an Eagles fan, as you know. I went to the Eagles game, and I was like, I got to pick the Eagles. Outside of that, last year was the only year I won the Super Bowl in the last, I believe it's 10. It might be 11. And I love it. I don't care, have fun, make fun of it. But I said KC was going to blow out Tampa, which is the complete opposite. And it's always been a long-standing joke where I break down the game and tell you why and really break down, and then I'm wrong and you guys make money. So you can make fun of me, send me emails, whatever. As long as you're making money, just keep doing the opposite. But I'm glad that trend is intact, because if I would have won, I would have threw a wrench in the whole system. 2 in a row, it would have been difficult. But I'm going to break it down. Do the walk of shame later on. But first, I want to talk about one of the greatest things we have in America, our country, and that's capitalism, where anyone, regardless of race, color, gender, can start their own business, become an innovator, can change the world. If you look at most large cap tech companies, whether if it's Facebook or Microsoft with Bill Gates, I mean, a lot of these companies are started in garages or basements, and you're going to hear that same story with my interview later on. I mean, you can't do that in many countries. I think we take it for granted here. Because a few months ago, I talked about Professor Ibram Kendi, wrote a book in 2019 called How to Be an Anti-Racist. Then we had the George Floyd incident. Sales took off. This became a New York Times bestseller, and Professor Kendi is now a huge celebrity. But his message, and I'm quoting here from his book, he says, to love capitalism is to love racism. They were birthed together from the same unnatural causes, and they shall one day die together from unnatural causes. Goes on to say, popular definitions of capitalism, like popular racist ideas, do not live in historical or material reality. So basically, Professor Kendi is saying that if you believe in capitalism, you're a racist. And the idea of capitalism needs to die. Think about that. Put politics aside. I always get emails of politics and this and that. People think I'm like a Trump lover. I'm super conservative. Believe me, I'm not even close to being conservative. I just like when things are fair, and I believe in capitalism. When that's taken away, that's a major problem. It's the reason why I'm here. It's the reason why so many people made it. Again, you don't have those opportunities anywhere. And look, I believe in free speech. You can say whatever you want. That's fine. With that said, there's tons of colleges around America that are hiring this guy to speak directly to students and tell them this message. And I know this because listeners email me all the time when this guy is speaking. This is something I mentioned about 2 months ago. And he's telling them that capitalism, working hard, getting an education, getting a job, you open up your own business. And that concept needs to die? It shouldn't exist anymore? Kind of ironic considering the reason why this guy sold so many books is a professor at a big college, has a big name. A lot has to do because of capitalism. I mean, our country allowed you to write a book and just free speech, say whatever you want. Then you have a platform, you have publishers, and then, look how big it, like, that's capitalism, right? I mean, there's nothing being suppressed there. But it's just kind of amazing that your message is totally different from how you became successful. But I mentioned, we get a lot of new, younger subscribers, listeners at Curzio Research, and I want to talk to you directly. If you're a parent or grandparent, please listen up. Because our country, America, is only as good as what the next generation makes of it. Now, when I look at my journey, and I'm closing on 50 years old, holy cow. Holy cow. I was listening to 50 Cent the other day, came on the radio, and my daughter was like, who is that? I was like, he's not that old. Is he 50 Cent? Are you kidding me? I was like, you know who 50 Cent is? No, I don't know. I was like, whoa, I'm getting old, getting up there. It's crazy. But I can tell you, growing up, I never thought in a million years that people would listen to me for my brains or listen to, how I analyze stocks or, have over 100,000 people downloading the podcast and trying to help you out in investing, how to analyze companies, how to use economics, and government policies to find new sectors and companies to invest in. I always thought maybe, be a basketball coach who would listen to me about, basketball skills and everything that I played for my whole entire life. I never thought it would be this. I mean, I was a pretty bad kid growing up. Not terrible, not horrible, but I hung out with a bad crowd. Guys that dealt drugs, carried guns, stole cars. They got to have basketball. This way I wasn't doing any crazy stuff. But I was around it a lot. I mean, I got left back in the seventh grade, where my science teacher brought me up in front of the class. Right? This is at St. Matthias in Ridgewood, New York. In front of the class and said, Frank, you're not going to amount to anything ever. You just need to know that. And her face was just like so serious. Even today, like I'm like, holy cow, this piece of shit. Anyway, I use that as motivation. But I look at that today and it's funny, I mean, I lived in my house until I was 27, which I totally forgot. I just took my mom out. Hanging out to grab something to eat, and she said, yeah, you were 27 before you moved. I said, really? And my parents like having me around because I was the youngest, the last one, and probably they're like, oh, just, I would think me, I can't wait. My daughters go. So I have a little bit of free time, and of course, when that happens, I'm going to miss them to death. And by the way, shout out to my daughter Brianna, who's going to be 13 on Friday. Teenager. I'm willing to accept any emails, frankcurzioresearch.com, on how to handle a girl that's just becoming a teenager. So it's going to be that I hate you dad stage for a little while, but I always hear that they come back later on. So we'll see, but it's going to be interesting. But 27, right? Isn't that crazy? I didn't even know that. But since my dad passed, I started taking everything very seriously. I learned as much as I can from like the year where things started getting bad. I spent a lot of time with him, wheeling around a wheelchair, asking millions of questions, and it was good. It was keeping his mind off of everything. I mean, he had lung cancer, chemo, lost a ton of weight, couldn't walk anymore. I mean, it's nothing anyone, hopefully a lot of you don't have to go through that. It's painful, but I use that opportunity to really get close and learn everything. Then I spent time building up my network, getting out there, learning everything I can from people who are smarter than me, who have decades of experience. The reason why I could have went to, not that I had, a lot of openings, but with Kramer, I had a little bit of in. He knew who my dad was. He interviewed him before on CNBC and stuff. And he said, yeah, we'd love to have you. And, and I'm glad I did that. I mean, it gave me a whole education on growth stocks, which is, you'll see a lot of growth stocks in our portfolios now. A lot of people just don't understand growth and how you could buy a stock with a 60, 70 PE. But, you could say that about Amazon when it was trading at 50 and it's 3,300 today, right? So just having that education, having the value, combining that, I mean, it was the greatest education ever. And over that time, I realized or learned a few things. And I'm going to go over the couple with you because, they've helped me. And I learned never to be closed-minded. And I see guys like Peter Schiff, you have Dent, Permabaz. You'll see me on Twitter just rant about Peter Schiff sometimes because he talks about, he hates everybody. It's everybody, he talks about everybody. Just basically telling everyone since 2012 that Bitcoin's the worst investment ever. You're an idiot if you buy it, and continues to say that. Like he's great at stirring up troll entertainment and he's got tons of followers. Good for him. That's great. But you have to be careful of people who are just closed-minded, that are just, live in a certain way, and they're never gonna change. Like I talk about shift dem permanent base, where everything sucks unless it's gold. Be open to change, especially when you get older. I mean, you have to, if the variables change, you need to change. I was crazy bearish on the market. We were able to get out a lot of stocks in my portfolio when the market crashed in February. And I said, this is going to be one of the greatest buying opportunities ever. I thought it would be a year from now. I didn't know it would be a month and a half where it started going up. And then I realized, holy cow, the trillions and trillions of dollars. I mean, it is unbelievable to see how much money they are throwing into the system. And this is where it's cool on our Curzio Research YouTube page, because I like to bring up things. And this is a report from Bank of America just to show you guys this is kind of just crazy. It's just crazy. But so Fiscal Monetary Policy Tracker, and it shows, percent of GDP and the amount of monetary and fiscal for each country broken down. Now, Italy is 73% of GDP. Germany provided 70%. You have Japan 68%, and then you have U.S., which is close to 40%. They lowered rates by 1.5%. The total spend here is $8.3 trillion. So it's 3.7 for fiscal that they spent so far, and 4.6 for monetary, and that's just the beginning. These are trillions, guys, trillions of dollars. Trillions. I mean, to put that in perspective, you think about it. If you put it in perspective, it's, we have a TARP, $470 billion to stabilize the whole financial world and all the banks, right? Stabilize the whole global system. I mean, trillions, and more is coming. They're giving checks away. So, you have to be able to change. And the liquidity is going to go crazy. Low interest rates. Buy assets. Buy aggressive stocks. Time to take on risk. Know what's going to rotate. I mean, that's really, really important. But you have to be open to change. You have to be able to adapt, or you'll die. I had so many people tell me I can't do something. You can't do, trust me, you're going to be told this a ton over your life. There's no way you could do that. You can't do that. No way. Someone tells you you can't do something, practice until you can kick their ass in it. Use the word no. If I tell you no, use that as motivation. People make fun of you, use as motivation. I mean, I was a pretty big kid. I wasn't bullied, but people made fun of me and fat in school, just like kids do. And I use that, especially in basketball. When I played those kids in basketball, I knew who the ones that said things. And believe me, by the end of the game, they were not happy. Because I spent 3-4 days leading up to that game shooting tons of shots, locking them down. As soon as the guy came in the gym, I was guarding him. Couldn't even get to his bench. That's how competitive I was. And motivated I was. And be humble. I mean, most entrepreneurs, their early ventures don't work. If you talk to them, they didn't, hey, I decided to start this company and it worked. No, a lot of them fail. And they take those lessons learned and apply them in the future. But, be humble. You can be humble and confident, right? A lot of people aren't humble. I mean, it's the downfall of Donald Trump. I mean, you can't argue. You could argue if you want. I know people hate him to death. His policies were good, but he's not humble. He's like, I did this. I'm great. I'm that. I can tell you, most Trump supporters, it's not like you're in love with them. We just, believe in entrepreneurship and less government and less taxes and stuff, which is fine. And Democrats, again, it should be an open discussion. But being humble would have gone a long way instead of, losing Arizona because you trashed John McCain. I mean, trashed him. Hey, what are you thinking? And you lose that state and you're surprised. But, humble is a very important quality. Fortunately, even in the political world, none of them commit and say, hey, you know what? We got this right. Everyone's right on COVID. They're all right. All these deaths, everything, everybody's right. You can't say, well, you know what? We were wrong at the beginning, but we learned, and now this is how we're dealing with it. But if you notice, everybody talks about how right they are on COVID all the time. Be humble. That builds character. It's you trust people like that. You don't see that often. You must be confident. That's important with entrepreneurship. Whether that's because you really know your field or you're incredibly street smart, which I would say is my biggest asset. I mean, be able to read people, see who's full of shit in seconds. And that's something you don't teach in books. Anyone can read a book and say, okay, this is what I learned. It's how you apply that. And also, meetings and getting to see people. I mean, it's not easy, right? Some people are not people persons, whatever. They like to be in crowds and talk to people. But being street smart is huge. Think about the greatest athletes in the world. If you look at Tom Brady, you look at Michael Jordan, Gretzky, Mayweather, Serena Williams. What do they have in common? They are confident as hell. They believe they're the greatest and they're going to destroy anyone that wants to take their crown. They always find ways to compete within the competition or make everything a competition, right? Even if they make them up. You saw that with Jordan during the series. He was just, talking about players and, this guy said I can't guard him and this and that. And then, they questioned him and said, really? Is that true? He's like, just things that they, just their way of thinking. It's got to be a competition. I got to win. I'm the greatest. You have to have that confidence while being humble. Talk to everyone. Seriously, talk to everyone and respect everyone. I mean, you never know who that person's going to be, right? Or sometimes is that you're talking to. I mean, I know a guy, I thought he was from the military. I played basketball, a great guy. And then, we went out for drinks, hung out, met his wife, cool with my wife. And I didn't even know the guy, he's not in the military. He owns, a huge bunch of gas stations, huge business, has a bunch of houses and everything. Not that makes him smart or whatever. I mean, but, I treated him as if I would treat anybody. And that's how you treat everyone the same. I mean, I never changed my personality for anyone. And I guess if I knew the background, sometimes some of the people I met, I may act, tone it down a little bit. But, they kind of like that because they're not used to it, especially if, very successful people and they're wealthy and people, they're so used to everyone kissing their ass. For me, I don't kiss anyone's ass. I'm just me. That's it. Be yourself. You can look in the mirror. That's it. Important. But definitely, talk to everyone. And don't care what anyone's occupation is, right? You can always learn something from someone. If you think about what does the word smart mean? I mean, I've got emails, Frank, you're smart with your stock picks in, I'm a stock analyst. I don't know. Is that smart? I know my field. I feel like I'm the best in the world at it. That's, I'm confident. I am humble. I get it wrong sometimes, and I break it down because I want to be perfect. And I know a lot of people listen to me on my stock ideas and pay for my research services. If I get shit wrong, people lose money. I take it personally. But smart? I don't know. I mean, my mechanic is smart. A cab driver is incredibly smart. And they're going to tell you more about the local economy than any economist. Trust me on that. And most economists, looking at bell curves. I mean, how many economists are conversationalists that you can really sit down and have a good conversation? Very rare. Very rare. They dry. I've interviewed economists. I love talking about the economy. I don't explain in bell curves, but, the economy is around. You look at a cab driver, Uber driver. I mean, they see everything, right? How people are spending their money, what hotels they're staying at, which months are the busiest in that area, what new events are going on, more houses being built in it. They know everything about that community. I don't care where you go and who picks you up. Have a conversation with them. They're dying to have a conversation. Call all day. Just say, hey, how's it going? Has it been busy lately? And what's going on in different areas? They'll tell you everything. You could always learn something from someone. So treat everyone with respect. What I realized for me, I never wanted to be the smartest in the room. Otherwise, you can't learn from anyone or get better. And that's how I started Curzio Research. I mean, I went to Weiss Research after Stansberry. I went there, I think, for 9 months. And it was kind of a joke. But when I was there, everyone was asking me what to do. And I'm like, well, of course, they didn't pay me for those extra services, right? But I was like, okay, I'm ready to open up my own business. And now again, I still surround myself with people who are smarter than me. This way you're always learning something new. When it comes to different things and reading books, don't just read. If you want to learn, you have to do it. Do it. Have that experience. Have that emotion behind it. Experience the failure. Experience how hard something is and the dedication it requires, whatever it is. My daughter's in gymnastics. Some of those girls are absolutely amazing. The dedication it takes is incredible. But don't just read about something. Do it. I read about, I never shot a gun before. Now I'm a gun owner and, read about it. And then, a subscriber came here and showed me how to shoot. Did it. Now I shoot. And again, it's, you got to do things. Can't just read about it. And I could tell you, what I hear from a lot of entrepreneurs is they say, don't try, or successful entrepreneurs, is don't try to start a company because you want to be rich. That's interesting. But when you look at the most successful entrepreneurs, they're going to tell you that they didn't care about making money when they started their companies. They were just passionate about their idea and something that could change the world. If that works, chances are you are going to make a lot of money. But if that's what you're thinking off the start, and that's why even when I look at the mining industry, where sometimes I don't like investing in companies that are just junior miners that their only purpose is to sell that asset to somebody else. Fine, if the price comes along, you got to do in the best shareholders' interest, right? I get it. But it's nice to see, like, hey, this is my project. I'm developing this shit. It's going to take 10, 12 years. This is what we're going to do. Here's a plan. Here's how we're raising money. And if you get taken over, it's fine. But just, to have that, you're not passionate. I can't see the passion behind it. If you're just, hey, let me just buy this and then sell to somebody else. And successful businesses, usually the person running the show is very, very passionate. And most importantly, for me, again, my experience is here. And I get a lot of questions on this. Hopefully I'm not boring you. But work your ass off. There's no reason why you can't work your ass off. Work hard on everybody else. It should be easy if you're passionate about something, right? For me, Curzio Research, this isn't work. Dude, this podcast is not work. I love it. I'm going to interview great, great people. I'm going to learn from them, especially the guest I'm bringing on. Trust me, I've learned, and you're going to learn from them. But attitude reflects leadership. And if you're working your ass off and every one of your employees see this, it motivates them. They start to share your vision. They know how passionate you are about it. That's important, especially for culture. I've seen culture get destroyed. It's so many companies I've been at. It's terrible. People leave and they don't care anymore. They don't work hard. They dread going to work. It's a terrible environment when that happens. Terrible. And I can bet it's kind of like that at Robinhood right now. Once you lose that culture, it's nobody wants to work there. Nobody wants to be a part of it. It's hard. It's hard. It's like trying to change someone's personality. You can't do it. It's so hard to get back to, hey, this is who we are now. But I don't have all the answers. I'm going to fail at things. I get emails saying, Frank, you're so successful. You're innovative. You'll launch your own company, launching, one of the first security tokens. But we're still a tiny company. I mean, things could change quickly. And if we fail to adapt, this business will fail. You're like, no, I don't know. It's true. I mean, it's not crazy. Think AOL. First company gave you the internet. Research in motion, right? They invented the smartphone. They don't even make them anymore. They failed to innovate. They failed to get ahead of it. And, Apple just said, hey, I like that concept, but we could do it better. And that's what happens. You always got to be on your toes. There's literally millions of people who started multi-million-dollar companies. But for me, I always stay humble. Always want to learn something new every single day. Always passionate about everything I do. Everything, which is kind of I hate doing things half-assed. Even playing a lot more golf now and getting a little bit better now. So, I'm passionate about things. I want to be good at them. I just don't want to, I could do this. No, I never half-ass anything. But be passionate about everything you do and always, always work hard. That's what you could control, right? That's what you can control. And that's been my formula. Sure, anyone would define that as successful since, I'm not too sure what that word actually means. I mean, imagine someone who is deaf or mute and overcoming millions of things. Holy cow. I mean, that is unbelievable. Imagine being deathly afraid of speaking in front of crowds, but doing a presentation for 350 people. I mean, it's scary. And I could tell you from someone who does lots of presentations, you don't want to be nervous. The best way is to know everything about your subject. Know more about your subject than anyone else. And you're going to have that confidence because you know that's better than anyone else. Because if you go up there and you don't, and you're getting, people asking you questions and you don't know how to answer, you lose credibility. But if you really know everything down to a T, not to memorize it, but you just know that whatever you pitch in your sector, those nerves will go away, at least a little bit. But success, you look at it, is measured in one way. To me, that it's truly giving everything you got to achieve a goal, right? And in America, you could do that. You could build a brand from nothing. That's what capitalism is. To say that to believe in capitalism is to believe in racism. I mean, this guy is preaching this to college students all over America. He's probably booked for the next 2 years. I'm not too sure if parents know this or not. But telling them that if capitalism is racism, I mean, it's insane. And you know what? I hope you truly, truly don't believe that. And that's why it really bothers me with this podcast. I get passionate about it, but that's, the universal is capitalism, work hard. You can make money. Anyone could do this. I'll show you how. I know all the bullshit that happens on Wall Street. I'll teach it to you this way. You don't, make stupid mistakes because I've made those mistakes before. That's what it's about, right? Now, why am I bringing this up? All this innovation stuff and my story, because my interview today is with one of the greatest entrepreneurs. His name is Marc Randolph, who's a co-founder of a small company I think you heard of. Netflix, the co-founder of Netflix. Grew up in Queens, New York, just like me. Guys, this interview, I'm not going to lie, it's one of my favorites, and I've been doing this for 13 years now. If you're thinking of starting your own business, if you're an entrepreneur, this may be one of the most important interviews you ever listen to or see if you're on Curzio Research. It's incredible. And let's get to Marc Randolph right now. Marc Randolph, thanks so much for joining us on Wall Street Unplugged.
Oh, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Wow. So many interesting topics to get to. I'm a big fan. And the first, let's bring our audience in here, right? So you're a co-founder of Netflix. You Reed Hastings, 97, 98. Let's start there. How did you come up with the concept to launch? I mean, what was, the conversations at the beginning? Because I think, just to see where Netflix is today compared to, when you started this thing is pretty amazing. But I think that gets lost sometimes. I'd love to hear the beginning parts when you knew you had something pretty big.
Yeah, people always think that companies spring fully formed out of thin air and that instantly we're doing, House of Cards or, amazing streaming deals. But no, they start very humbly. And usually you start with a crazy idea that turns out to have nothing to do with the idea that eventually works. And listen, Netflix was no different. This was, as you mentioned, back in 1997. And back then, all I was really wanting to do was find something I could sell on the internet. Mm-hmm. I really, when I saw the internet come along, I was a direct marketing guy in my earlier part of my career. And I said, wow, this is the way to sell things. And Jeff Bezos was just kind of getting started with Amazon. And so I knew Reed because Reed and I had worked together at the company he had started and run called Puratria, which we were selling. And both of us were going to be out of a job. And so he was going to go back to school, but I was going to start something new. And so Reed was going to be my angel. And we just needed an idea. And it worked that we'd commute to work and I would just pitch him. And I'd pitch him hundreds of ideas and they were kind of crazy. One of the ones that I was really kind of fond of was, get ready for this one, personalized dog food. Where we formulate a blend for your pet, for their age and their gender and their activity level and their climate or whatever. And then you subscribe. And I loved that. But Reed, not so much. So, okay, here's another one. Personalized shampoo, where you cut off a lock of your hair, mail it in, and our team of ace hair scientists, whatever those are, formulate the custom blend just for you. And he didn't like that much. And these are genuinely things I pitched Reed. And then I pitched video rental by mail. We do a standard video store, but rather than having a bricks and mortar, we have it on the internet. And we both liked that a bit better because back then, video rental was about a $6 billion category. The problem is, back in 97, as you may remember, video came on those VHS cassettes. They were big and heavy, and by some artifice, they were expensive. It didn't work. We couldn't make the economics pan. And so that got tossed out the window along with the shampoo and the dog food. And then, as often happens with stories like this, there was a lucky break. And Reed heard about this technology called the DVD that was in test market. And we all of a sudden went, wow, this actually might allow us to dust off that old idea. And so we go, well, let's try. And so mid-commute, we turned the car around and went back down to Santa Cruz where we lived and tried to find a DVD, but of course, none to be had. So we settled on buying a used music CD, figured close enough, and then bought a little gift envelope like you'd put a greeting card in and stuck the CD in the envelope and mailed it to Reed's house. And it got there in less than a day for the price of a stamp. And that kind of made us look at each other and go, wow, this actually might work. And so that, if there was, as they say in screenwriter talk, an inciting event, that was probably the moment.
You talk about and the ideas that you're pitching him, right? And you use the word personal almost every time. Personal shampoo, personal dog food. Does that come from you having that marketing background? Because I think when a lot of people do start businesses, they underestimate the marketing aspect. Even my business with financial newsletter writers, I know there's great newsletter writers out there. They can't sell their newsletter, even though their performance is fantastic, because they don't know how to market themselves. But using the word personalized, I mean, there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, there certainly is. The first half of my career, I was a direct marketing guy.
Mm-hmm.
I did magazine circulation. I did catalogs. I did direct response marketing. I did direct mail. So I was deep in that world. And the reason that when I saw the internet come along, I immediately lit up was I saw the power this had for being direct marketing on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it was personalization, which is back in the day, back when I was doing it with, mailing pieces, it was blunt force. You go, hey, Marc Randolph, what all your friends on Charles Hill Road? You were doing this false personalization. And all of a sudden I realized the internet, I could do a different website for every single different person who came and try and show them things that would appeal to them. So yes, I wanted personalization. The other word you might have picked up in all three of those ideas was subscription.
Mm-hmm.
And I had come from, two of the companies I started were magazine publishers. And I knew that circulation business cold, and I knew the power of a recurring revenue model. And then I really blew it though, because when we actually launched Netflix, it didn't include that because I couldn't figure out how do I make subscription work with video.
Mm-hmm. That is funny. Those subscriptions, because that's where we're in as well. So we really understand that market. But I want you to talk about the story, which I saw on YouTube, which is fantastic, about when you guys were, starting to grow. I think this is around 2000 or so. You had 100 employees. You're doing $3 million in sales, and I think you said you was losing $50 million. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But you're looking for strategic alternatives.
Don't remind me.
You're looking for strategic alternatives, and you met with Blockbuster in the headquarter building, right? And there's a company doing $6 billion in sales, whatever, thousands and thousands of stores. Can you tell that story? Because that was really, really interesting. Because that strategic alternative, maybe looking to sell the company, but to me, that story, and I'll let everybody hear it first, it encapsulates, where how competitive you guys became, how driven you've become. But why don't you tell a story, and then maybe we'll get into that part first, because this is great.
Yeah, my book is called That Will Never Work. I mean, my podcast is called That Will Never Work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called that because every single person I pitched that Netflix idea to told me the same thing, which is, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, including my wife. Thank you very much. But, I hate to admit it, they were all right. It was a terrible idea. And it took us a year and a half of one experiment after another of tiny incremental progress before we stumbled on the business model that actually was hugely successful. And it was this weird model, which was no due dates, no late fees. You keep the movies as long as you want. When you're done, you mail it back. And we don't charge, and we give you a new one, and we don't charge you each time you swap a movie. You subscribe. You pay a monthly fee. You can exchange as often as you want. And now that doesn't sound so bizarre, but back in year 2000, when we came up with it, 1999, it was unheard of. And so we did what subscribers do, subscription models do, is you gave away a free month. Try it. Now, both you and I love recurring revenue models, but they've got an interesting dynamic to it, which is that you have to pay all of your acquisition cost up front. Mm-hmm. And then your contribution margin comes in little by little, month after month. And wow, when we introduced no due dates, no late fees, boom, people have a hard time defining product market fit, but it when you see it. And it was explosive growth. And we were just so delighted to see this thing take off until the dot-com bubble burst. And all the money that we were using to fund that growth, gone. And that's a very, very scary moment. And as you mentioned, we decided we are screwed here. We have huge, successful business, but we're going broke providing that service. We need to partner with somebody, as we graciously put it, partner. This little 100-person company partnering with a 60,000 employee, 9,000 store, $6 billion corporation. Or, basically we got to sell this thing. And it was funny because they were so huge, they wouldn't even pay attention to us. We couldn't get the meeting. And the funny part of the story is they ultimately called us for the meeting when we were on a corporate retreat up at the Alisal Ranch, this little place in the foothills outside of Santa Barbara. And it was a retreat. I had on a t-shirt and shorts and flip-flops, and that was my entire wardrobe. And that's when they called that we wanted to see us in the morning in Dallas. And we were kind of going, how are we going to do this? And decided we did the only prudent thing you could do, which was we chartered a corporate jet, which we figured was just a rounding error after being $50 million in the hole.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So we go in, and of course we all of a sudden end up in this huge skyscraper in downtown Dallas in this cavernous conference room with the giant endangered hardwood conference table. And the Blockbuster, John Antioco, comes in, and he's, his shoes cost more than my car probably. And I'm there in shorts and flip-flops and a t-shirt. And Reed has like a Hawaiian shirt or something. But anyway, it was great. We make a pitch that we would run the online business. They would run the stores. And there was lots of synergies between having a blended model. And it was going great until they asked the big question, of course, which is how much? And we were ready for this one. So, Reed geared up and leaned in and went, $50 million, which we figured we owed 50. So make 50. Perfect. Nice, neat number. Yep. Ending. And they laughed at us at the hubris, I think, that this little company who was $50 million in the hole at the peak or the trough of the dot-com bubble bursting could want $50 million. And it was this profound blow because to us, this was an obvious alignment. There was so many synergies. This was the way that content could be delivered and be so much better for both of us. And it was almost like a movie moment because this was the moment where the heroes are trapped back against the cliff and the enemy's advancing there's no apparent way out. And all of a sudden down comes the Deus Ex Machina, hand of God, to pull our plucky heroes away from danger. But no, not in this movie. In this movie, not only are the heroes not going to get rescued, now they're going to be competed with by Blockbuster. And I seriously, on the plane, which was a long, quiet ride back to Santa Barbara, was just thinking to myself that, oh God, now, I can say here, now we're going to have to kick their ass. Now, as my dad sometimes used to tell me, Mark, sometimes the only way out is through. And that if we were going to make this happen, there was no trick. There was no gimmick. There was no secret passage. We were going to have to fight through them. And, it is funny because, that was a long time ago and it took us 10 years, but eventually, that company, which had 9,000 stores, is down to one. And the company that they could have bought for $50 million, last time I checked, was valued at $250 billion. So,
yeah, it's an amazing story because I don't know Reed Hastings, but when I was an analyst for Jim Cramer, covering all the stocks, we listened to tons of conference calls. And I remember the period 2006, 2009. So 2006, I wouldn't say it's starting to come back. It started to really come back 2004, technology, internet and stuff like that, started getting a little bit more back into favor. And listening to Reed on those calls, I'll never forget because he must have said the word Blockbuster 20, 30 times. Like his goal was to destroy Blockbuster. And even today, when I see Disney launching a streaming service, I'm like, Reed is, to me, and, being a pretty good judge character and listening to so many of those conference calls, this guy has like a competitive spirit. Like he just, just to hear him, where it's very rare to just hear you talk about how you're going to destroy the competition when, you're supposed to really be talking about your fundamentals, your financials, the quarter, how it was. It used to blow me away. And I just think that was a pretty defining moment for you guys. And now it's a great, great story.
You're certainly right. But there is one thing you need to be clear about, which is that a destroying aspect is not out of avarice or out of mean-spiritedness. It comes purely from that realization that the only way that you're going to survive is going through somebody. And if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. And I think what you heard in Reed was this spirit that I'm not going to let this go down. I'm going to figure out some way to make this happen. I don't care that every analyst is saying you're toast. I don't care that they're going to destroy you with pricing. They're going to destroy you with their blended model. No, we're going to figure out some way to survive and thrive.
No, it's just an incredible story. And now when you look at what you're doing and what you've done, at least over the past decade, even longer, just entrepreneurs, startups, that's your passion. What is the biggest mistakes? Because I know so many people come to you and pitch ideas. What's the biggest mistake that you see someone starting their own business make? And I'm not talking about funding, right? Because I mean, it seems like there's a winning formula when you look at Dorsey and you have a Twitter, Square, Peter Thiel, Palantir, and PayPal. And again, these guys got funded as they didn't get funded off of their first ventures. It was much harder. But what are some of the mistakes they make? Because it seems like there's a formula where people who run a successful business are able to start several of them. Just that repeating pattern.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've kind of seen, Netflix was my 6th company, and I've since done a 7th one. And since then, I've been mentoring, early stage companies for a long time. And you do see these patterns develop about what does it take to really make a startup be successful, to bring it from, as Peter Thiel calls it, from 0 to 1. And some of them are not that complicated. And the big one is that these successful entrepreneurs, and you're talking about some of the giants of it who have had multiple big successes, but it goes even for people with medium businesses and small businesses. It's one, a predisposition to action. These people do more and think less. They do not, let's study the problem. They do not write business plans. They immediately figure out ways to collide their ideas with the reality. When Reed and I had the idea in the car about maybe DVD will unlock this video rental by mail thing, we did not run back to the office to put together a pitch deck or begin developing the business plan or apply to be on Shark Tank or whatever the crap people do these days. Immediately turned the car around and said, let's just learn something about whether we're full of crap or not. And if we had mailed the disc and it had cracked, we would have learned something. If it had taken 4 days, we would have learned something. I mean, that's what entrepreneurs do, is they have this predisposition to action. But the other big thing is people have focus. One of the universal problems of a startup is there are hundreds of things on fire. Everything is broken. Everything is suboptimal. You never have the resources or the bandwidth or the manpower to get everything done. And you have to be relentless in saying, I have 2 things or 1 thing or 3 things that if I get those right, the rest don't matter. And it's this dual skill. It's having this intuitive sense of what are the 2 things, because they may not be the ones that are screaming the loudest or that are most obviously the ones that are broken or on fire. But then once you've decided, being able to block out everything else and take all of your resources, all of your attention, all of your creativity, and focus it on the things that are critical. I mean, at Netflix, we sometimes referred to it as the Canada principle, as a shorthand for that. Because for years, as we were starting up, everyone's saying, yeah, you guys should be in Canada. That's an immediate 10% bump, 10% relative market size, and it's easy. And you go, yeah, that would be an easy 10%. But there's 2 things. One is it's not easy. There's different currency issues. There's different cross-border. The shipping is different. That it does require a cognitive and administrative load to enter a new market. But the bigger thing is that we were organically doubling every year. And so taking that same effort it might have taken to get that 10% and just reallocating it to the core business was way better ROI. Ignore all those bright, shiny objects. I mentioned earlier that I have a podcast now called That Will Never Work, where I'm basically delivering this mentoring, this tough love, this advice to early stage entrepreneurs. And it's remarkable how often they come back to similar themes. And certainly one of them is focus. You're doing too much. Why are you telling me about how much money you're going to make selling the t-shirts? You need to be focusing on building your brand to the point you have permission
Yes.
to sell the t-shirts. And it's really easy to say, really hard to do, which is why you see so few entrepreneurs break through, taking their ideas and making them real.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. So you talk about your podcast, That Will Never Work, but you also wrote a book in 2019, That Will Never Work, The Birth of Netflix, An Amazing Life and Idea. And I'm going to read this because I thought this was fascinating. So you talk about, Netflix, walked away from your lucrative business of selling DVDs to focus everything on rental. He said, at the time, walking away from 95% of your revenue to chase a dream probably looked totally irrational to the outside world, but sometimes that's the nature of pursuing unlikely opportunities. You have to do things that will make other people think you're an idiot. I mean, that doesn't speak to the power of innovation, right? Where we see, never stop innovating, right? I mean, you look at AOL, what happened? They stopped innovating. You look at Research in Motion, they stopped innovating. And they are the founder, right, of the smartphone, right? They created the smartphone, the first smartphone. So,
Right.
Talk a little bit more of that, because I found that fascinating, where a lot of people, even when they're starting businesses, and I'm in that range too, we're doing, close to 3 million in sales and growing the company and about 17, 18 employees now, but I'm always looking for the next big idea. Talk about how important that is in terms of, and I know you're going to bring up, the innovation part.
Yeah. So what I would say, it's not necessarily finding the new idea. It's having the courage to pursue it when it's detrimental to your core business. That's when you see the real innovators step up. It's easy to add on something which doesn't impact the rest of your business. For example, the example you gave, which was rental and sales, the beginning, sales was taking off. It was 95% of our revenue, whereas rental was 5%. And it was fairly obvious to us that sales was a commodities business, that eventually that would go away in a handful of years. But why not just do both? Why not let one incubate the other? And the simple reason is that it turned out that doing both at the same time was really tricky. It was confusing to customers having to say what we did. Our metrics required extra effort to interpret because it blended things we sold and things we rented. The warehousing was tricky because some items went out and stayed out, some went out and came back. So the realization here was that if we really want to be successful, we got to pick one and we got to focus on that one. That was the balls move. And that is what sinks big companies, because they know these aren't stupid people. They see the future. They can tell where customer sentiment is going, but to pursue those opportunities are going to require cannibalizing existing parts of their business. And especially once you have Wall Street involved, especially once you have analysts jumping all over you, especially you have to report down earnings on a quarter, it's really, really hard to do that. I mean, there's some interesting things that are happening right now in the media space. So look at the bold move that Warner Media made just recently when they announced that all of their 2021 movies were going to be made available day and date with their theatrical release on streaming. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
That is either the most unbelievably bold stroke about saying and recognizing streaming is the future for our company, or it's an act of tremendous desperation in the fact that HBO Max is sucking wind and there's no business in the theaters. And so it took having their back against the wall to make that bold step. But would they have had the courage to make it otherwise? Or would they have forever made HBO Max be an also ran because it was getting its content 6 months or 3 months or 1 month after the theatrical release, when Disney, when Netflix was willing to bring things and immediately do what the customer wanted? I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here.
No, it's great. I love it.
That innovative courage, that innovation is 90% courage and 10% creativity.
Love that. Love that line. So let's talk a little bit about your podcast. We've got about 5 minutes left. That Will Never Work. You're starting a podcast. Why are you starting the podcast? What's the podcast going to be about? And why should everybody listen to it?
So when I wrote That Will Never Work, the book, it was because over my 40 years as an entrepreneur, I kind of realized that all these tips and tricks and secrets that I'd learned starting and growing Netflix, starting and growing my other companies, were broadly applicable. these weren't streaming tips or subscription tips. They were, how do you take an idea from its raw sense and convert it to a real business? And I kind of realized that these things were broadly applicable. And so on That Will Never Work, the podcast, I'm speaking to real people with real businesses and real business problems. People who are having problem with co-founders, with getting financing, with trying to focus, with recognizing what should be my tech stack. How do I put this together? Do I need a board? Basic questions. And it is the most fun for me in the world to spend 30 minutes working with them, helping them narrow their idea down and figure out maybe how to crack that problem and move forward. And I'm meeting these incredibly interesting people. This one woman I'm speaking to in the first season has a business selling erotic art online. And she's trying to walk this very narrow line between how do I use social media, which has the potential to drive huge gains in the business, with the risk that with a single misplaced pixel, I'm going to get banned for good. Another person has taken his idea is to take the action adventure vacations he did with his kids, like rappelling and zip lining and rock climbing, and bring it indoors to an indoor action park in Texas that truly serves beer. Now, what could go wrong? And those are the types of things.
I want to go right away.
Yeah, you love just wading into and helping to wrestle. Another woman I spoke with, she worked as a coach, a pickup artist coach for years, helping people develop the skills to pick up women, and then finally realized this is pathetic, but that these skills can be used to help anyone establish a meaningful connection, men and women. But how do I get that business started? And this is my purpose, and this is my passion, and I hope that comes through in the podcast. It's been really, really fun meeting people and helping them get a little bit further, and hopefully the people who listen are going to learn some things that'll help them with their ideas or their business.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? The audience.
Absolutely.
And so, is it a weekly thing, a daily thing, or
it's going to be it's going to be one every 2 weeks to start, and we'll see how that goes. I would do it every day. In fact, I do. I spend so much of my time speaking with early stage entrepreneurs, and that coaching is what makes me alive. But one of the things that I've learned is when I want to learn a skill, I don't read about it, I don't study it, I just do it.
Yes.
And so part of it is the best way to learn something, just do it. Yeah, and so what you're also seeing, besides me trying to coach other people into how to make their businesses more successful, is I'm learning right along with them. And maybe you can give me a few tips.
I'll try to help you with the podcast. I've got hundreds of people come to me and say they want to start a podcast, and I tell them the same thing, because it's not competition. You can listen to the podcast whenever you want, right? So, but you have to be committed, and don't ever go off your schedule. It's like a TV program. If you miss it a week, you're going to lose a ton of people. And I would say probably if I had to put a number on it, I'd say 97% wind up failing with podcasts. Of the people that have come to me, because they're just not that dedicated and don't go all in, don't do the research on their guests, and you really have to love it, right? As you know, you really have to love it. I love doing this. I learn from my guests. I've been doing 13 years interviewing some of the greatest people out there, and just brilliant. And, I really love this. I love doing this. So, all right, last question here. He's got a minute left. And you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. I mean, I need to know this. Do you still own shares in Netflix? And if you can't answer that, that's fine. But man, I hope the answer is yes.
Oh, of course, the answer is yes. I mean, I would say largely they're emotional shares. I've been diversifying. I've been out of Netflix for 15 years now. So, of course, being a prudent investor, I've been diversifying ever since. But it really is the magic stock, because my investment advisors will come to me and go, Mark, gosh, with this recent run up in Netflix, you're really overweighted. We really want you to reduce your share. So I want you to cut you by X percent. And I go, that's a smart move. Let's do it. And then lo and behold, 6 months later, it's right back where it was. It's the magic refilling bucket. Don't, this is not one size fits all, but certainly it's been a wonderful thing for me to have that emotional attachment. It's a very small part at this point of my portfolio, but I love watching what it's doing. And I'm really, really delighted with the performance and how Reed and his team, and now his co-CEO, Ted Sarandos, are leading this company into the future. No, it is fantastic. Unbelievable. They're light years ahead of everybody. I mean, when you just look at what they're doing, it's really incredible. I follow streaming business, but it really is incredible. Doing a fantastic job. So
If people want to listen to your podcast, that will never work. How could they do that? I know you have a website. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do
Sure.
that?
The best way is to come to the Randolph Central, which is at markrandolph.com. And that's Mark with a C and Randolph with a PH. The podcast will be available, as they say, everywhere podcasts can be listened to.
Yep.
But the best place is at the website. We'll point you other directions. It'll also allow you to find out about the book, as well as how to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. And find out all the wonderful, crazy crap that I'm involved in these days.
Yeah, and I'll be tweeting that on our account at Frank Curzio. This way you have all the links and everything for everyone. So, Mark, listen, I know how busy you are and how crazy it is. You speak all over the world. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. It means a lot. It means a lot to my audience, and I just want to say thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. This was actually really fun, and I hope we could do it again sometime.
Sounds great. Great stuff from Mark. So glad he still owns shares of Netflix. Isn't that cool? Holy cow. Guy probably owns like 80 houses. You're the co-CEO, co-founder, right? Co-founder of the company. You're getting shares at a penny. And that stock continues to go higher and higher and higher. So really cool. But key takeaways, guys, right? I mean, it was kind of an amazing interview. Let me know what you thought. FrankCurzioResearch.com. For me, I had a lot of takeaways. Just listen to say personalized dog food, right? And then personalized shampoo, right? Of how, he made fun of those ideas, 2 bad ideas, right? And he says, well, you have to be willing to look like an idiot or whatever, which is cool because that's how you disrupt things. But then he came up with video rentals through the mail, and that led to streaming, which, Netflix is now the 600-pound gorilla in the space, and he's persistent. He was persistent with those ideas. Also used the word personalization, right? He's a digital mark of personalization. He talked about subscriptions and recurring revenue. When you look at Microsoft, Amazon, Adobe, Apple, the software companies, right? Cloud, data analytics, wireless companies, AT&T and Verizon. These guys generate tons of free cash flow. Tons and tons and tons of free cash flow. In fact, if you want to see how much, here it is. I actually did a screen of this. The Curzio Research YouTube page, you can see Apple is at past 12 months close to $70 billion. I don't think it's updated for the previous quarter. I think it's over 80 now. You have Berkshire next with $55 billion in free cash flow after expense, free cash flow. AT&T is third on that list, which is surprising. It's bigger than Amazon, Google, which is Alphabet, Microsoft, Walmart. But all those companies, AT&T close to $40 billion. Then you have Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, $36 billion. Again, that recurring revenue stream, right? Starting business, that's what you want. It's really easy if you're looking to sell your company. That's the easiest way, right? They want to see recurring revenue and growing revenue. When he said, now I'm going to have to kick your ass, I thought that was pretty cool, right? Shows his competitiveness. I mentioned earlier how, again, you have to be ultra competitive. And that's most entrepreneurs are like that. You don't have to be, but you want to be able to beat everybody. You want to be the best. When he said do more and think less, the best collide their ideas with reality. I thought it's fantastic advice. It made me stop and think. There's no surprise that there's a formula, right? He was talking about the formula. You have to be a little lucky to become a blockbuster company. The pandemic really made Zoom and Peloton. These companies accelerated the growth trend probably by a factor of 50 to 100x. Sometimes you're lucky, and now they got good brands. Took advantage of it. They'll have a predisposition to action, he said. And also they have incredible focus where, of course, focus could be a broad term, but he said get those 2 or 3 things right and you'll be successful about your business and block everything else out. And for me, Curzio Research, first couple of years, I had that problem. When you open up your business, you're hands-on with everything. You want to make sure everything's good, and then you're outside your scope, and you're getting into different areas, and what you're great at only accounts for 10-15% of what you're doing. And now I hired a great team. It was awesome. Now I can go play golf twice a week. I'm just kidding. But that's important. To do things to the point where people think that you're an idiot. You're not going to disrupt markets unless you do something totally different. That's crazy. You're not going to disrupt the market by doing what everyone else does. It's got to be different. One of the biggest takeaways, right? Why not let sales incubate innovation? When he said most of his sales are being generated through subscriptions. But he knew that was a business it's going to slow, eventually slow, but use the money you're generating and innovate. Look at Amazon getting into cloud, Adobe, Microsoft, same thing. MicroStrategy, buy massive amounts of Bitcoin. I mean, that stock was 200. Below that, it was 100 something before they were, initially purchasing Bitcoin. And last time I looked, it's 1,200. Might be down today. Bitcoin's down a little bit today. Innovation's 90% coverage, 10% creativity. So have some balls. Go out there. Netflix almost went under. He said it. Tesla was like a month or two away from bankruptcy, Elon Musk said. Think bigger. There's always, always, always another level. When you think you have it figured out and everything's like, I'm great. No, there's another level. And Amazon conquered the world in retail, right? They went from books to selling everything in the world. And that's not even their main business anymore. It's the second largest next to cloud. Microsoft software, 360. It's the cloud part that the reason it's driving that stock price up tremendously, right? So Mark's working with a lot of early stage companies. He's mentoring lots of entrepreneurs. That's his passion. But anyway, his book is That Will Never Work, The Birth of Netflix and the Amazing Life of an Idea. Definitely pick it up. It'll be worth it. And go give a listen to his podcast. I mean, I hope he does it more than once every 2 weeks. Hopefully he gets, at least weekly. It sounds like he wants to do it, but, he's going to get a lot of traction of that. Again, he was great. If you saw the interview in person where you're watching on Curzio YouTube research page, be sure to subscribe to that, but you could watch that. And you see how he's just like, energetic and fun and cool. Comes over a little bit different than if you just listen to audio, which is perfectly fine. I'll get lots of people listening through iTunes and stuff. But his podcast is also called That Will Never Work, and I'm definitely looking forward to that to come out. It's a really cool stuff. I want to thank Mark for coming on. But again, this podcast is about you, not about me. Get a little bit of a turn there with innovation, entrepreneurship. Okay. It is investing podcast. We're going to get to that right now, but let me know what you thought at frankcurzioresearch.com. That's frank at curzioresearch.com. Now, let's move on. Talk about the markets. Going to bring in my buddy Daniel Creech, senior analyst at Curzio Research. Dan, what's going on, man?
What's happening, Frank? Oh, just same old broken record stuff. Bitcoin's new highs. Everybody's buying it. Just earnings season's easy. Life is good, man.
It's funny because everyone says it's a bull market and shit, right? So if you don't have any earnings, if you have that, just keep buying like crazy stuff and everything, right? It's just, it's kind of unbelievable when you see it. It is crazy. But, there's a lot going on, right, Daniel? I mean, you're looking at earnings season almost over. Is Bitcoin surging? A lot of Bitcoin stocks taking off here. But let's first talk about the Super Bowl. Let's get that out of the way, right? I mean, my Super Bowl pick was Kansas City to win 34-24. I thought it wouldn't be close. And I love that I'm back, right? I was dead wrong with that pick, which is fine. I mean, KC just didn't come to play. He lined up, on defense wrong several times, right? Just let people open. He dropped a ton of passes. Tons of penalties, although some are questionable, but pretty boring game that I got really, really, really wrong. But I know you watch it too, Daniel. But it's great that I'm back because, again, the joke was that this is every time that I do this, you take the opposite and you make money, and that's what I want. Make fun of me, but you make money, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was perfect. Is this 2 years in a row? Because I know the Eagles thing broke you because you got that right. But
and I don't do the Eagles, because I've thrown that out since I was at Super Bowl. But this is only one out of the past, which was last year. Only one, I think, out of. I'm pretty sure it's. I got to go back and look. I think
I know you had a good track record.
It's like 10 years now.
It's good irony that you break it down in such detail and then like, all right, all that's wrong.
All that, everything and it's cool. It's even stocks where you think you have it right and you think everything's perfect, but sometimes you're going to be wrong. It's just wrong. It's just, and it slaps you in the face and makes you humble, but it makes you work harder. That's why I love this. It's like
what
golf.
Was the so I didn't hear all of the. I was sitting back, met some people at a cigar bar and was watching it there. And my interest wasn't huge. It was kind of an easy game for me. I actually got there on time. It didn't matter to me if I missed it or not. Whoever won was going to be good. I don't follow football that much, but I wanted to see a good game. What the hell was the halftime show? I couldn't hear everything, which was fine. So I didn't get to hear all the good Super Bowl commercials. But the halftime show, they're way too long for me. I don't care who it is.
It wasn't. It got a lot of bad reviews.
Anyway, it was interesting. What was your favorite commercial?
Wow, my favorite commercial. I like the Scott's Miracle Grow commercial. I thought was good. There was another one. It wasn't a funny commercial. I thought was really, really good. I forgot which one. But overall, I was, I got to tell you, I was disappointed. Like I thought it would be, the commercials are usually a little more entertaining, but I only found a few of them that were really cool and others that just, and Robin Hood had theirs at towards the end when nobody was really watching anymore.
Yeah, I was actually trying to pay attention for that because I saw the headlines they were going to, try to cover their CYA and all that kind of stuff with a heartfelt, ad, I'm sure. I missed it too, which is kind of funny. The best one, first of all, the whole Doritos 3D chips thing, wasn't that like, didn't we do this like a few years ago? Hasn't that already been a thing?
Matthew McConaughey, but they did it. Yeah, it was okay.
That wasn't bad, but the Wasn't Me with Kuchar and no, not Kuchar. That's the golfer. Who's the actor? And Miley, or is it Kunis? Good looking Miley Kunis.
I don't know.
Ashton Kutcher. Ashton Kutcher, Miley Kunis, I think. Anyway, that's terrible. They're actresses. They're hilarious. That was it was the playoff of the rap song "Wasn't Me." He gets caught.
Okay.
And she's in the closet eating Doritos and all that or whatever. That made me laugh out loud. I actually chuckled at that.
But that was pretty cool. But overall, I mean, look, if you bet Tampa, you loved the Super Bowl. If not, it was a very boring Super Bowl. It wasn't exciting at all. And I think you would have. I wonder if anyone knows out there, send it to me, frankcurzioresearch.com. What were the odds of Kansas City not scoring a touchdown for the
Can you imagine that prop bet?
I wonder what that
had to be a ton.
I mean, it has to be a ton, right? I mean,
at least 500 to 1 or 1,000 to 1, right?
I would think. I mean, that's a crazy bet, but still, it just goes to show you, it is pretty crazy. But yes, I'm back. So, again, it's all about you. I love when you guys make money, and I feel better because if I would have won this game, it would have made it difficult that I won the last two, and then you're not going to know which way to bet. But continue that trend. You only lost once out of the last 10 years. Again, throwing that Eagles game out because I said I can't bet against the Eagles, and it's the Eagles, and I went to that Super Bowl, and it was not biased at all. The greatest Super Bowl ever. Yeah. Which is really cool. But,
moving on.
Let's move on. Okay. The walk of shame. Okay. I'm done. Not to mention, what makes it worse is I had a freaking Brady shirt on because I lost a bet, which I didn't really lose. I actually made money because the guy won the league having Brady's quarterback. But having the Brady shirt on and picking KC makes me look like an even bigger idiot. So don't email me about that.
Perfect.
Don't let me know I'm an idiot. Okay. All right, so Dan, let's talk about Bitcoin. I mean, you're looking at Bitcoin, which is surging. The news this week was Tesla bought $1.5 billion. You have Tesla now. You have MicroStrategy. You talked about a company that few people know, right? Mass Mutual.
Yeah.
Right. That bought it. I mean,
big insurance conglomerate. That was a little while ago. I think maybe even the end of last year. But they put $100 million into it, which for them is next to nothing. I know their investable assets are well over $2 billion. So percentage wise, it's not a big deal. But Frank and I were talking, and did you just forget about it, or did you not hear about it? Because I remember you were shocked. You're like, wait a minute, Mass Mutual bought Bitcoin?
I didn't know that when you told me. You said, I'm like, Mass Mutual did? And you said, yeah. I was like,
I mean, that's one of the most. It doesn't, and I'm biased here because of my insurance background and my interest and passion for some of those products. There is no more longer term thinking and more safety first mentality, in my opinion, than mutual insurance companies like Mass Mutual. So the fact that they do that, it wasn't as big of a headline as I thought. I thought I would see it more places, but the fact that they did it, kind of dipped their toe into that is amazing. And then of course you have the high flyers, the big followers like Elon Musk with all the Twitter people. Man, how impressive is it? You move markets. I'll suck up here and give you some credit. You can move some markets on some gold stocks and things like that, but Elon Musk is moving Bitcoin's market. I mean, that's impressive. I mean, you got to give that little bit of a run up yesterday to his credit. I mean, I can't absolutely prove that, but I think it plays an important role.
And he's promoting Dogecoin again, which is like a joke. And Mark Cuban came on and said the same thing.
I know, it's wild. Like, so
there's so much shit in that space, and I hope that a lot of that stuff is starting to move higher. There's a lot of speculation. Remember, guys, in a lot of these tokens, it's not like our token with CO token where you get equity stake and you're getting paid a dividend, right? We paid 3 straight quarters of dividends, and we're going to we intend on continuing to pay that dividend. You don't get an equity stake. You don't get anything in these names. So be very careful. I mean, if they get someone buys their company, then it means nothing to you. You don't get anything. But more important is they're not. The reason why they're trading on exchanges outside of Coinbase and outside the U.S. is because they don't have to show the financials. They show that they raised $20 million. You have no idea if they still have it, what they did with it. Is it in Ethereum and Bitcoin still, which would be great. But also they lost 80-90% because a lot of these people raised money in 2017 or 2018 before crypto crashed. But
hey, that's negative. We don't want to hear negative.
We just want to
buy and go up.
You want to be careful. You don't want to be stupid and just go into anything that anyone says, because a lot we're seeing the power of social media firsthand, where you get a mass of millions of people going together to with GameStop, which is now, I didn't look at it today, but it went below 60.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I think they said they hit 500 for like a second or something, but it was $300 for a while, and now this is what happens. I mean, we don't know, it's worth less than $10. It is going to get back down there. It just matters when. But it's a lot of people that are getting smoked on it right now, which is pretty sad, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, it is a bummer. Like we've talked over the last couple of weeks, some people are going to make money and do good things. A lot of people are going to get hurt, and some of them are going to leave forever. Some of them will, get back up and try again. That's all good in the macro picture to me. Speaking of GameStop, we talked about this a little bit last week, Frank. In the world we live in, it's not a big deal for companies to kind of hedge, and Bitcoin isn't near as crazy as what it once was a few years ago with all the hedge funds and now more companies buying in. Low-hanging fruit. A, why didn't GameStop raise money at a higher price? And B, why don't they announce that they're buying Bitcoin?
You know what? I don't know.
I mean, let's keep the saga going. What the hell?
They could have raised, the market cap was inflated. What was it, to like 25, 30 billion or whatever it was. From just a few $100 million, I believe. But it was amazing to me that, why don't you use the opportunity to raise money at least and get into, digital gaming or whatever, Because
in their defense over this time, they have made some popular headlines about hiring people. I think they got an engineer from Amazon's AWS, Amazon Web Services division. Of course, that's huge. It just shocked me. And then I want to ask you, Frank, you had a good Frankly Speaking question last week on what would you do if you were the CEO of IBM. But if you were a company who, let's say you're an activist investor, who are you going to buy stock in and tell them to go buy Bitcoin and get a 20% stock rise? I
mean, I used IBM as a great example because it's just this disgustingly slow grower. And now they're spinning off, right? They're I won't say garbage, but just like, their business that's pretty steady. It brings in decent cash flow, but, it's not growing and hasn't been growing for 10 years. And now, their cloud, their data analytics and everything, that's exciting stuff. They're spinning that off. They just got a new CEO. They're a lot of good things. You know what? They are one of the first into blockchain with Watson. Why not spend some of that cash? You have a dividend that's over 5%. It's, $5.5 billion. Cut it in half to 2.5%. And then take that $2.5 billion, invest some of it in Bitcoin. Now, it's not just, I want to invest in Bitcoin, like almost like you want to put .com at the end of the name, but it provides excitement for your stock. It creates a level of the younger generation excitement, right? When you buy technology, look at Cisco. All right, you own Cisco, yeah, forever. It's boring, but look at how Microsoft innovated. Look how Amazon innovates. Look at Netflix innovation. All these companies who innovate and exciting. There's no excitement around IBM, but that would add excitement along with the spinoff, which is coming. And it's a dirt cheap stock. It should be because it's not really growing that fast, but it will when they separate. And I think IBM is perfect for that. And not just IBM. There's a lot of, you're looking at $1 trillion in free cash flow that was generated over the last 12 months. That's free cash flow, right? So if you just take the cash balances, $2.5 trillion in cash and marketable securities, say if 1% of that goes in, right? You're looking at 25 million, 2%, going into Bitcoin is 50 million. You're looking at 6% of the market cap of Bitcoin, right? So, and not even talking about the $1 trillion in cash flow, but imagine if some of these companies decide to put 1% of their money in there, Daniel. And why would they do that? Because you're losing money keeping it in cash and they continue to destroy the dollar, right? So, what are you going to do? Maybe you buy a little bit of gold. I don't know. But, now as liquid as Bitcoin is, that way you can get in and out of it, it's just, what are you going to do? You're buying bonds. High yield bonds. So the largest inflows, like fourth largest ever. You've seen, but again, a lot of these bonds have negative rates. Cash with inflation, you're losing money. So they're like, all right, let's put a little cash into something else. And to me, it does make sense. But if that trend happens, man, Bitcoin's going right to 100,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
No question. But who would you think? Like, what would be a company that you would think that should actually?
I think the low-hanging fruit, GameStop was kind of tongue-in-cheek. I think that's one that you would play in order to just stay in the headlines and all that kind of stuff. The low-hanging fruit, I think, is the FANG stocks. Including Netflix, Facebook, all those guys, just because they have so much cash to do with. It's basically a risk-free trade. I don't think their stock's going to get punished for putting a little bit of money in there. I think it would get rewarded. And even if the volatility and all that, and it goes to zero, it's not going to make Apple or Facebook any difference, or Google if they lost $1 billion or $2 billion. Mm-hmm. But you throw those kind of rocks into the Bitcoin pool, as you said, you're going to make some waves. And then a fan favorite of ours in CRA, Curzio Research Advisory, Take-Two, the video games. I think that's easy to branch into. If you could release the new Grand Theft Auto and have Bitcoin in it, hell, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, payments, that's why Grand Theft Auto 5 is, I mean, how many years
Still,
old?
still like the greatest selling video game.
It sells like crazy because, they have all these add-ons. You go in there and you buy, it's kind of like, Fortnite with all these add-ons, but imagine if you use Bitcoin now.
Yeah.
And the gaming companies, it does make sense too, because you are going to get a little bit of a look what MicroStrategy, it wasn't like, hey, MicroStrategy decided to go into Bitcoin and, and all right, good for them. Their stock was below 200. It went to 1250 yesterday. It's probably lower. Again, Bitcoin's down like 4% today.
Yep.
After coming close to 49, I think it was, 1,000. I don't know. I just, to me, it makes sense for a lot of these companies. MicroStrategy, I mean, it made sense to them. And now he had a conference last week. I think I mentioned, either in Frankly Speaking on a podcast, I mentioned someplace that I think it was 8,000 people and 6,000 were CEOs of companies looking to know more about, the regulations behind owning Bitcoin as a business and how you could do it. And that many people were interested. Again, these aren't maybe a few Fortune 500 companies, but, whatever, just to sign up. And that's out there. And that is definitely not factored into Bitcoin, where if people do buy this at a limited supply, you could see it go a lot higher. It's going to be fluctuating. Again, it's down 4 or 5% today. It's up tremendously over the past 4 or 5 months, 12,000, like 40,000, 45,000. But, for some of these companies, it makes sense. But you're right. The gaming companies, why wouldn't you do that? Right?
Yeah, I don't think it's a far stretch. I certainly don't think, and I know you don't take this either, Tesla's not going to be the last company to make this announcement or to do this. I don't think that's a far stretch at all. So, yeah, volatility should be looked at trading opportunities, especially with the stocks that have exposure. We've talked about Silvergate, Hive Blockchain in the past. Overstock has some exposure with the cryptocurrency trading and such. So, yeah, I mean, got to make money while the sun shines, and it's very bright on that spot right now. So,
and yeah, you mentioned MicroStrategy. Hive Technologies is another one. I was an early investor in that. I sold a little bit of that position, but I sold most of it, lower than it is today. And they mine for Ethereum, and it's Frank Holmes' company, great guy. That's a pure play, right? Because a lot of people focus on MicroStrategy has gone higher, but we have 2 stocks that we really like. I mean, actually 3 of them, and we can go there because a lot of these, we have it in a crypto portfolio, which is, I'm not going to give too much away here, but Silvergate Capital, we recommended at 12 and it went over 100, right? So up, over 800%. Voya Digital is another one that does, mining, and, we got that at 86 cents. Again, take it a little aggressive there, and it's, over $8.
Yeah.
I mean, there's pure plays out there. You have to find them. We find them because, we're in these industries, but a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to buy MicroStrategy, I'm going to buy PayPal, I'm going to buy Square. There's a lot of really cool pure plays. And again, they're going to be risky. These things could move 20, 30%. But just like, who was it that tweeted out? Was it, I don't know if it was, I forgot who tweeted out, just talking about Bitcoin. Well, they own MicroStrategy. Oh, Citron Research. Remember, you told me Citron Research tweeted out and said, hey, we told you about MicroStrategy. And,
yep, good call.
And how much was it up compared to Bitcoin?
I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like, since they made their call, Citron meaning, Bitcoin is up over 100%, but MicroStrategy was up over 300%. Yeah. So definitely outgaining that.
Yeah, so it's not just buying
Signature
Bitcoin.
Bank is another one. I don't know if we've talked a whole lot about that one, but it's been on my list. SBNY, Signature Bank. I don't want to say it's exactly like Silvergate, but crypto exposure, clients, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, keep those on a watch list. That thing has moved from, that thing's gone from under 100 to over 200. So, in the last few months.
Yeah, and Silvergate was just a name I'm familiar with. Just, I love the CEO has a background from Wall Street and said, listen, this makes sense, blockchain, cryptos, and we're going to go all in. And he, again, you look like an idiot. People are like, really? That's what you're doing? You're going all in? And now look at him. Right. And now people are like, trying to become them, saying, all right, we need to add payment systems. We need to have banking systems where we can use convert this stuff over to cash and make it easy for companies. But, their business is booming. Things are great for them. And they got into that market at least 3 years ago, right? Probably earlier. That's when we first, started hearing about it. But, it's just cool to see where, I bet you he got a lot of flack from people he knows in the industry that he grew up around saying, are you crazy? Really? This is what you want to base your whole business model on? Now look, and it just goes to say what we said earlier in the podcast, was sometimes, people got to be like, wow, you're an idiot for doing that. That's not the worst thing, because that means you're doing something really, really different. And, if you're right, it could really pay off, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's how you disrupt markets and make a name for yourself and hopefully become really successful and be able to do whatever you want. That's the whole dream.
Yeah, basically. So I want to change tunes here because I never even ask anyone to write reviews for Wall Street Unplugged or anything. I'm just like, if you want to write it, whatever. But for some reason, I don't know if it came up my podcast or something, and I looked at the latest reviews, and it was kind of funny. So, I mean, and we've been getting comments in, and not a lot. I would say probably about between 10, 15% of emails, especially when we talk about politics and everything. Because again, you can't, Dan, you know how it is, right? I mean, you can't really express and say, hey, these policies make no sense, and it's going to result in this and this and this. But we're in an era where if you disagree, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist, and everyone hates you, and you're a super duper conservative. And it's like, guys, calm down, right? We're trying to make money for you. Yes, we have our opinions. Yes, I hate a lot of the shit that's going on and all the hypocrisy, which is an absolute joke, which everyone could see firsthand. But you have to see some of these comments, which is cool. And maybe I'll start off with a comment from you. This is about you. You got like 4 or 5 of these, which I like. You got some really good ones, though, I got to say. But I don't have Frank's email, and frankly, I'm too annoyed to look it up. It's been a long day. Maybe this ends up wasting the time of a support person. I'm sorry if that's the case. But I really don't appreciate Frank's clickbait tactics. Sick of purposely irritating language in the email subjects. Also, this guy, Daniel, is a reactionary, entirely predictable guy who clearly loves the smell of his own batch.
Nice.
He has a shallow understanding of political economy if he thinks the U.S. is about to descend into a socialist hellscape. Like, really? It's like a bad Twitter feed or annoying Facebook thread come to life. He's not making me better financial decisions by spouting predictable political takes. And he's just come across like a lukewarm cipher for takes that Frank maybe and smartly does not want to say himself. Like, what are we doing here? And you know what? I reached out to this guy and I was like, really? And he was very nice. He said, I was just in a bad mood. It was just emotions, and I understand. It's like,
I respect opinions. I do have to use that though for predictable political. How do you say that?
Entirely predictable guy who clearly doesn't smell his own batch.
No, what was the other one part of that? That was a good line. But what was the? And there were another predictable
economy. He thinks the U.S. is in a socialist hellscape.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not helping me make better financial decisions by spouting predictable political takes.
Oh, predictable political takes. Yeah, I like that. But speaking of politics, I have to take this time to, Frank, got to admit, got to say the worst words in the world. I was wrong. Eating humble pie, because anybody, and on this podcast and record, and anybody else that asked me, I thought Trump was going to win in a landslide. I thought he was going to get reelected. I won't rehash all that, but I was clearly wrong on that. So I haven't, it had come up at different times, but it was brought to my attention. I didn't admit that, which is true. So I was wrong. We can put that in the title for clickbait, see if that gets any reviews.
I'm going to tell that Daniel was wrong.
Yeah, there you go.
Daniel was dead wrong.
And like that guy said, I just have to, I don't get to free think here. I have to read off the cue
Daniel's an
card.
idiot. We use the term idiot. Daniel is an idiot. That's that. I bet you we get a lot of clicks that way, right? Probably. But here's some of this stuff. So if you go on Wall Street Unplugged, we have a 4.5, 4.
What are we trying to do? Are you trying to bait people into giving us good Who does that? Yelp? Isn't Yelp accused of that all the time?
Yeah, all that stuff. But listen to some of these. So these are like the last review. You could tell that it's like an agenda here where it's all part of it, because a lot of them are written the same. They're all 1 star, but it's like the last 6 or 7. I'm looking at it. So this podcast is supposed to be about investing. I found it to be pro-Trump, deny science. Really? It denied science? I thought it provided a lot of science for you. What a joke. If I want to listen to Rush, I'd listen to Rush. Rarely about New World Order. Scammy. I wouldn't trust anything out of his mouth. Like, really?
Scammy.
Yeah, I'm thinking that subscribers are pretty happy, right? Doing pretty good. But again, we can always do better. But just, it's almost like, you can't say anything, right? You can't say anything against the status quo right now, which is, more government, more everything. We want to control you. Stay at home for COVID. It's just, you can't apply something and more logic, even though I feel like, that's a subject I covered much more than 99% of the people you're going to hear from, including doctors. And frankly, I feel like I've been right on that. I've been wrong with a lot of things, right? Made mistakes, but COVID, I felt like, we guided you in the right direction. We needed to understand COVID because it has a lot to do with the economy and opening up, right? We need to understand about economics. We need to understand about political, new policies coming out, and again, it's but anyway, a 5+ year listener unsubscribed and qualities of interviews has dropped. Really? I mean, I've gotten incredibly great, I thought. I mean, Frank used to try to get credible guests. He was a small outfit, so sometimes they weren't huge names, but he tried. Thank you. The data analysis is always been thin and simple. These days, it's basic. I don't know. We're doing video.
Like that.
Right, Dale? I mean, you look at the videos that I'm doing now for my 3 newsletters are like 30, 40 minutes long, where I'm not just giving you a topic. I'm going to show you exactly how I pick it and stuff like that. Again, it's like an agenda, because you can see these are kind of written the same way, and they're like, attack this guy, kind of like Trump. And
we need to add that to our bio, though, if we're helping people relieve stress and, making their day better since they're venting to us. That's a good thing, though.
Yeah. Strangely anti-American. I didn't know I was anti-American.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I'm also a white supremacist and a racist, too, so I get it. Please reflect on your values, your platform, and your influence over others. Sorry, by telling the truth, giving my opinion, trying to make you money. And the funny thing is if you have a different opinion than someone, now what's the big deal? I mean, now it's like, oh, I hate you. I want to hear the other side. I like hearing the other side all the time. Now nobody likes hearing the other side, right? It's just a different world. Where else? I think it was a couple more. The podcast used to be great, but it's not so great anymore. Daniel, who works with Frank, is into conspiracy theories about the election.
Conspiracy.
Fall from grace. Frank is literally a scam artist.
Literally.
And literally.
You're figuratively one.
Literally a scam artist. Literally a scam artist. Absolutely. That's me. Providing a free podcast for you to listen to. Scam artist. And Frank is a hack. But again, I'm going over all the negative ones. But you can see it's all. So anyway, I was going to ask you, we're getting lots of new people listening to this podcast. And for me, when I go to podcasts, I'll look at reviews. And we have a very positive review rating. But, we saw a bunch of people kind of like spam this and everything. So if anyone, if I actually do anything, if you want to provide a review on iTunes, it'd be greatly appreciated. I don't think I've asked you to do that for at least 3 years. At least 3 years, I think. So, if you want to write me a review, positive or negative, I don't care if it's negative, positive, whatever, just, be truthful. For me, I always view, criticism as being constructive, right? I mean, not from people like this who obviously don't own none of them are subscribers, right? A couple of them said they were, we looked at them, none of them are subscribers. So they just, again, had the agenda, and you're a scam artist and everything. Nobody is a subscriber to our business. And anyone that is would definitely not say that about us, right? And the performance of the newsletter have been pretty good. But, yeah, so Wall Street Unplugged, the reviews, if you'd like to write a review, and I'll tell you what, for that review, I'll tell you what I'll do for you. If you write a review, and again, it can be positive, negative, I want you to be honest, and criticism is good, allows us to see what the problems are and fix them. That's why I pay so attention to customer service, which we get lots of compliments on, right? We really focus on that because we know exactly when, if something's happening, what we need to fix and what people don't like, right? That's a big part of customer service. Anyway, if you decide to write me a review, again, it could be positive and negative, I'll give you a 3-month free subscription to Dollar Stock Club, which is a pretty big deal, Daniel, right? I mean, this is a product that, you do a lot of work on, and it's a product, go ahead, you could explain it.
Yeah, good segue into that. Dollar Stock Club's fun. It's a beginner's kind of newsletter. Like Frank said, he's offering to give it away. What do you, I should know more about this, but what is it, $4 a month? It's
$4 a month to subscribe, right? So it's $4 a month to subscribe. I don't know.
You can tell I'm not on the marketing side of this operation.
Yeah.
What does it cost? Hell, I don't know.
I just got the picks there. But what we do is we take a pick from every one of our guests. And sometimes, we have to get creative with our picks, and Daniel and I will recommend it because, sometimes we have, entrepreneurs on and a lot
of times guests aren't, in a position to be able to talk about specific investments or whatever. So, we use it to come across as however it came up in conversation or kind of made us think along the lines of what the conversation entailed or detailed. But yeah, it's a beginning newsletter. We do it from a very high 10,000 kind of macro view, pick a stock or an idea, give a few solid bullet points on what our thesis is and why. And it is a trading newsletter. Now, we got to kind of adapt. We started this with trailing stops. We've kind of gone from that to hard stops just because of market volatility. And we have some huge winners over a shorter amount of time and longer amount of time. About a year is a long time in this trading, but we've had to adapt to the environment, and it's a great way to get exposure to a lot of names across a lot of different sectors, everything from crypto, gold, oil, silver, conglomerates. I mean, hell, we have everything in there from, we've had cryptocurrencies at times, and we have Coca-Cola in there.
All right, here we go, because I'm going to do something which shouldn't piss off anyone from dollar stock because you get a pick like every week, basically. That's what it is. So I would say you get probably like 45 picks altogether. Sometimes, we have guests on, but I'm going to do something because most of these stocks are trading above our buy up to price. So again, you get stock picks every single week. So I'm going to do something, which is crazy. And this is going to make you go to our Curzio Research YouTube page because I'm going to show the portfolio. This is our current portfolio. And there's not a lot of stocks that you could buy right now because a lot of them are up. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is you have Mirrored 90 with gold mining. Ginnia was on. Consumer staples up 23%. Gold mining 54%. United Rentals, Charles Payne was on. It's up 95%. We have a couple in negative, not too big though. But Kyle Sonlin came on, and he's not allowed to recommend stocks, but he is a crypto guy. He's one of our partners, and I'm familiar with Silvergate Capital. Thought it was a great place to buy it, and we bought it 14, and it's 100. Where is it? Did it go to 160? It went that
These
high?
are as of yesterday. So this is Wednesday.
Down,
this is as of
down
Tuesday,
10%.
the 9th. So
100.
it's down today. So
this is what in August, and we're looking at 900% gains. Maybe it's like 800% now. John Petrucci's Coca-Cola, Artemis Gold, Stephen Dean had the CEO on. So, this is where you get fresh ideas. And why this newsletter is great is because let's take and where is it? Chris McIntosh, right? Every time I have Chris McIntosh, he comes with a great idea. He invests in Bitcoin, I think, at 400, I believe. And wishes he held on everything, but I think he sold it. But he came on, and this was in July, and he talked about oil and gas is going to take off. And I disagreed with that. I was like, you know what? I'm not too sure about that. I told you about, but this isn't really about me. This is about getting ideas from other people. And for me, I have like one oil stock in my portfolio, but, missed a move largely, right? I'm always focused on the things I missed, not the things we got right. That's why I want to be, I want to always be better, right? So, but this is and now this is a Spider ETF oil and gas fund that's up 42%, right? You look at the gold mine, like Tech Pacific Land Trust company. I'm very familiar with that back from my dad days, but one of my dad's favorite picks, recommended single digits, but Chris Mayer came on, recommended that. But also, I haven't been in marijuana stocks, which is, these things have unbelievable moves. And we had Jason Wilson, who runs the largest ETF on, right? Not a few months ago. This was in November 19th. And his fund. So ETFMG Alternative Harvest ETF, it's up 115%. So this is giving you ideas from a whole host of great people who I vet and make sure that, look, I've had guys on here doing this for 13 years and, their performance has been bad and I don't have them on anymore, right? You listen to me to make money, right? So, I'm not saying all these picks are going to do good or bad, but you're getting different opinions and, we have simple write-ups of these things. And, uranium, Spencer Abraham came on, uranium energy is already up 24%. That was last week. Smith & Wesson's, I forgot the guy who recommended that one.
Yeah, well, it's down today too. Look at that. The last three picks is up 40 and 25. I'm in the middle at 10.
The portfolios. But anyway, look, I'm not selling this. I'm not selling the product where, hey, go and spend $4 a month for this. It is a product where we want to get new people in who are not familiar with our brand. And then when they come in, they're like, okay, this is, really cool. And, they subscribe, they start listening to podcasts, they start subscribing to other newsletters and everything. And that's the goal, right? We got to introduce our brand to people. And this is one of the best ways to do it. And I love this product. We don't talk about it enough. And for writing a review, I'm going to give you a 3-month subscription for free. The only thing you have to do is write that review, copy and paste it into an email, and send it to support@curzioresearch.com. You could put a title free 3 months or whatever. And if you just subscribe, I'm going to add another 3 months to your service. It's the least I could do. But again, just for you to go out of your way.
Now somebody's got to call you out. Somebody has to write a negative review, copy on it, and get 3 free months of that.
Yeah, if somebody wants to,
that would be the ultimate.
I believe in honesty, and I love honesty.
Frank, I just want to see if you're honest. You suck. I hate your podcast.
You suck.
Give me 3
1 star.
months.
Give me this. You're a scam artist. Everything you do, you lose money for everybody. But I want my 3-month subscription. That's what I'm gonna get. That's what I want to see.
That'd be awesome. I can't wait. We need to see about that one. Send us in. Don't let us down.
Yeah, it's cool if you want. But the reason why I have support at CurzioResearch.com, that's going directly to a support. This way, I told them to expect emails, so this process, it will get processed really, really quick compared to you sending it to me sending it to them. support at CurzioResearch.com if you're interested. If not, don't do it. It's perfectly fine. Even if you want to subscribe, again, it's $4 a month. It's a newsletter we don't make money on, right? It's an introductory newsletter. I don't want you to think that it's a beginner type, totally beginner, but we write a 1-page report on that company. We give you a buy up to price, place stop loss on, and it's more like a trading newsletter. But again, it opens it up to ideas from brilliant people who I interview that maybe I don't agree with, and a lot of those things have worked out, right? So at least we have access to that. And again, my job is to bring smart people in front of you. I want to see you make money. It's personal to me. So me just having the guests on and seeing the performance of that newsletter. And again, if you're a subscriber, don't worry, because I show the portfolio, which you can see on Curzio Research YouTube page, but no worries, because most of them are by the buy up to price, and we come out with stock picks every single week, including our next one's going to be published. We publish it every Thursday. So, we have the podcast, obviously Wednesday today, you listen to, and Thursday. We come out with that at the close, Daniel? Is that when we come out with it?
About an hour before market close.
Okay. And then we come out with that on Thursday. Yeah. So, and you can't really gauge what stock it's going to be sometimes, where I think you might be able to figure out this week. But most of the time, I talk to these people before and after, off air. And we discuss ideas, and I'll put some of those ideas in there that I like, and ask them if it's okay if I mention it. They're like, yeah, definitely. So it's not always easy where, they're like a stock pick and you're like, I know which one he's going to pick. Let me jump the gun. No, a lot of times it's something else that we could have talked offline or whatever. So, but I'm proud of that newsletter. It's really cool. And I love to see, a lot of people that we've had on have had some great picks, and I appreciate it. That's what this podcast is for, right? To give you ideas and make you money. So, yeah, I think we covered everything there.
Yeah. Enough. We'll see what the reviews say.
I like those. I like reading those, man.
We'll have to do that more. That's encouraging.
Yeah, keep sending them in, man. I like that. That's pretty cool. But anyway, look, we're here for you. We love you guys. Again, it's I appreciate everything that the viewership, listenership, that listeners. All our numbers continue to go high. Our social media presence. So people like what we're doing. Our brand is starting to get bigger and bigger, and we want to continue to focus, no matter how big we get, on the investor. That's our business model. That's what we want to do for you guys, and I'll never forget, because everyone here, you were with me for a very long time, most of you, and allowed me to build this company. It's really, really cool. So I take this very seriously, trying to make you money, trying to get the right people in front of you, and our products we put everything into. We're not going to get right at every single position right. But you'll see the dedication, you'll see the research, you see everything, and more important, because I've been in this industry for 25 years, all the products, it's more about just giving you a pick. Anyone can give you a pick. It's how we came to that pick. This way, you could use that research, and you'll probably, almost very likely, own stocks outside of the portfolios, our portfolios. So you could use that to buy other stocks and educate yourself. And it's pretty cool right now. So I just want to say thank you so much. So guys, be sure to check out our Curzio Research YouTube page. Be sure to say goodbye to Daniel. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on.
You guys have a great week.
All right. Covered a lot. Thanks. Again, you can subscribe, like it. You'll see the portfolio coming. It's really cool, guys. Just check it out. I don't care if you subscribe or not, that's fine. But, we're building up our presence on YouTube, and the video format's really working. And I would say that interview with Marc, if you can, even if you listen to it, watch it. Just because I watch it again, and there's so many things that I took from it, but just the passion, and you see it, it's a different level. It's almost like it's the same words, but it's just different. Trust me when you see it on video. And I think we're going to do some work with Marc in the future, because, I really like him, and he's a great guy. So also, we're closing out our Curzio Venture Opportunities. Small caps are on fire. Only, promote newsletters and do promotions when I think it's a great time. Right now, it's a bull market in very risky stocks and small caps. It's going to continue, right? Liquidity is going to continue to enter this market. It's not going anywhere. Interest rate's going to be low forever. 3 years or longer, right? Just there's so many factors right now, underlying factors, that if we do see pullbacks, it's just more and more money is going to come into this market. Plus, we have the reflation trade. Guys, we are going to see an absolute explosion in travel. COVID cases down 60%. People are dying to get out. Hotels are talking about this in October, how booked they are and the pent-up demand in October, and then we had a little bit of setback, right? Places closed again. We had a cruise line that it's 180 days, I think they go. So, and they opened up one day, they sold out. I think it's for 2023. One day they sold out. You're going to see every hotel packed. You're not going to be able to get a room. You're going to see casinos packed. You're going to see Vegas packed. People are dying to get out. Dying to get out. And now that we have the vaccine and over 100 million people, it's been distributed already, you're going to see things open up. And when it does, you're going to see that is not factored into a lot of these stocks, where they might go back to those pre-COVID high, guys. But you have to realize they cut expenses tremendously. Their margins are going to explode. They're going to be able to generate the same amount of revenue and probably 70, 80% more profits because of all the fixed stuff that they cut. That's what you do when you come out of this, and you're going to see explosion in profits. You're going to see explosion in earnings growth going forward. And a lot of that is not factored in to airlines, to hotel companies. And that's one of the things we recommend at CRA. But the small caps have tons of potential, and, Curzio Venture Opportunities, it opens up the door for those small caps. So we're from a 40% discount, and then we're closing it, I think, in a couple of days. So if you want to take advantage, go to our website, curzioresearch.com. If not, no worries. But I would do it now because that 40% discount is going to go away in a couple of days. Okay, guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, I'll see you in 7 days. Take care.